So I know I've been meaning to review a lot more classic albums on my channel. These are the albums that really gave forth my musical tastes and my musical preferences. I always just find, like, especially with a lot of these classic albums, there's not a whole lot that I can add to the conversation, and a lot of people already know about these guys, and I'd much rather lend my voice to new music. But you know, it's something that I always say, well, I really should be talking about some of these guys, just of how passionate I am about them. So let's dive into one of my all-time favorites, and this, to me, is my go-to Good Vibes album. Brain Salad Surgery by Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Okay, so I don't think Emerson, Lake and Palmer really needs an introduction. The three big personalities of Greg Lake, Carl Palmer, and Keith Emerson just created and sculpted their way onto the progressive rock scene. These guys did everything right for the progressive rock movement. Started off in 1970 with their debut album, took the world by storm, just the three guys, but making a massive symphony of sound. Brain Salad Surgery is their fourth album, third studio album, with Pictures at an Exhibition being a live album of theirs. And this thing is really the pinnacle of the group. This is the accumulation of everything that had come before. They really had been playing with each other now for about 3 to 4 years, grounded themselves into what it was to be Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and honestly, it's probably the last time that the boys really worked brilliantly together before they let their egos kind of get in the way and before the studio mucked about a little too much. And yeah, I mean, what can I say that hasn't already been said about Emerson, Lake and Palmer? Right from the Hans Rudy Geiger images that we have on the front cover into the brilliant crafting of both music and lyrics. I actually get Pete Sinfield from King Crimson onto here to help Greg Lake write the lyrics to Carnival, with the whole Carnival 9 thing originally being Carnival, that then got split up into Carn-Evil, and then number 9, that whole 30 minutes that took up an album and a half, or I guess one side and a half of runtime. Like, holy geez, in terms of progressive rock, there wasn't really anything as progressive as that. So let's talk about the music. Let's talk about everything that's found on here. Everything that's great about Emerson, Lake and Palmer is found on here. You do have the opening hymn of Jerusalem that is originally this traditional English hymn that's really given this really big sound. Keith Emerson on the keyboards and organs and synths, he just creates this massive sound that normally would require a full church and an organ to reverberate around, but it's just him and his massive wall of machine. Carl Palmer on the drums, just keeping a meaty rhythm throughout it. And then the heavenly voice that is Greg Lake. It provides everything that's so well constructed all together. Now, the second track, as I've already mentioned, of Toccata is actually an adaptation of the fourth movement of Toccata and Concerto from, and I'm going to butcher the guy's name. It's Ginastras, his first piano concerto. If myth is to be told, the band recorded their take on it, brought it to the guy's house, played it for him, and about 2 or 3 minutes in, the guy got up and turned it off, and they realized they had been playing it in mono. And Keith Emerson's like, whoa, it was playing in mono. Don't make up your mind until you've heard it in stereo. And he's just like, boys, do it. Just do it. It sounds incredible. Do it. This is one of the first times that a synthesized pad had been placed on a drum kit. So a lot of those really quick moving sounds are actually produced by Carl Palmer on the drums. And where this track is able to go in terms of the soundscapes, it took what the final track from Trilogy had with that and just explode it into this one where it's got that that same kind of method and meter. and explodes it into something completely different. Holy gee, I just love Toccata on this. It's one of my favorite Emerson, Lake and Palmer's. How grimy it is, how menacing it is. I used to call this Mechagodzilla way back in the day because it did feel this massive like beast that's coming through and just destroying a cityscape. Brilliant. Then we come into Greg Lake's signature ballad of Still You Turn Me On, with it's just him and the guitars, and I love his little wah-wah pedal of that. Still you turn me on. Like, it's just fun, and it's a really great kind of a palate cleanser between Toccata and the Carnival big stretch. And even after that, we get Benny the Bouncer, which of course is a ragtag or ragtime playing styles. The band has to have a ragtime. Love that track. It's just really, really fun. Like it's just fun. And again, it sets the stage perfectly for Carnival number 9. So we've got Carnival number 9, First Impression Part 1 and 2. First Impression is, Part 1 is on the first side of the album. The song kind of dips, and then we go into Part 2 on the second side. Yeah. Let's talk about this, because I've had a weird relationship with the Carnival suite. There was a time when I loved the Second Impression, which is just Keith Emerson on the grand piano, really, really playing it out, and I love where it ebbs and flows. Unlike other suites of music, I feel like this one's a little bit off kilter because of that Second Impression, which is just that piano suite. But I've come to love, be lukewarm, and then love this whole section, especially with the 1-2 punch of parts 1 and 2. I love how, of the First Impression, I love how gritty and how menacing and how all over the place, while still, at the end of the day, being this fun romp. It is like this sci-fi massive adventure with this supercomputer being this crazy thing. This set the stage for what Rush would do with 2112 and the whole Hemispheres and Cygnus thing. But instead of it being high fantasy in space, this is sci-fi. This is straight up some Asimov massive sci-fi-esque. So I love what we're able to accomplish on there. Again, that Second Impression, though, every once in a while I listen to the whole thing. I'm I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. This being for me 15 years out. For the album, it's 50? But anyway, just love the interpretation of this. And when we come into that Third Impression, and it's kind of unifying, especially where it feels this call to arms, call to action, almost like this cavalry romp right at the beginning, where it's just again, we're callbacks to trilogy. That whole big finale within the Second Impression coming into the Third Impression, and we actually have Keith Emerson on this vocal styling where it's this computer talking, "I'm perfect, what are you?" And then this feedback loop of essentially this thing exploding. Damn. Again, what they were able to do with music at this time is unparamount, and to this day, it really is a testament of the brilliance of this. I don't think I really need to give you guys the rating, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. Brain Salad Surgery from Emerson, Lake and Palmer is very easily an absolute masterpiece.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
I mean, it's a staple of progressive rock music. If you haven't already heard it by now, what are you doing? Go ahead and listen to it. It's one of my all-time good vibes album. It's one that I will gladly and easily put on and just get swept away by the music. I love it. And if you haven't already checked it out, please do. And that's about it. That's all I've got for Brain Salad Surgery from Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I mean, I could talk endlessly about it, and I already did on a podcast that I did for Quid Pro Quo. Go and check it out. It's the one that features Emerson, Lake and Palmer. And that's what I've got for Brain Salad Surgery from Emerson, Lake and Palmer. What did you guys think? Do you love this album? Do you hate this album? Let me know of your own thoughts by commenting down below. And if you haven't already heard, I started a whole new channel. It's me talking about tabletop role-playing games, because apparently I'm not doing enough. So go and check it out. It's Notes on Tabletop RPGs. I've left the link to subscribe down there if you want to check it out. Go and have a look. See if it's up your alley. And if it is, give me a sub. If not, don't worry about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, Notes out.